Your mic is. You know, I'm just making sure that I'm compatible with all you guys right now with mics. So I got humble aspirations.
Your kids home alone.
Julie, what's my status here? Am I good?
It's pretty,
Oh, okay.
15
Oh.
they're okay, but still, I don't know.
Yes, get into it.
So my problem is that I screw around with it. Is that the problem?
Well, you close it each time.
Well, it took me a long time to figure it out. I wish it's.
You could duct tape your wrists into your chair.
How do we get Tauber to kind of quit screwing around with microphones?
Okay. All right. Yep. This is the call to order for the December 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Town of Woodside Planning Commission. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call, please.
Chair Weaver,
Present.
Commissioner Ganerko,
Present.
and Commissioner Tauber.
Present.
Vice Chair Gar and Commissioner Apfeller noted absent.
Are there any changes to the agenda as published?
There are no changes to the agenda and there are no desk items.
In that case, we will move on to the public comment period for items which are not on tonight's agenda. Anyone here in person or online that wishes to speak on a topic of relevance to the Town of Woodside or its Planning Commission, but not on tonight's agenda, is invited to speak at this point in time.
There are no members of the public online.
Given that, I will not give the disclaimer of the fact we can't act on the items that people will not ask about. And we will move on to the consent calendar, which I believe is the empty set tonight. Okay, given no consent calendar, we will move to our one and only item on the agenda, which is a request for the abandonment of easements for 4 lots along Mission Trail Road. And I believe Sarah is presenting on this, so take it away.
Yes, thank you, Chair Weaver. So I will be introducing a proposal to abandon a 100-foot wide building setback easement on 4 lots that are located on Mission Trail. A proposal to abandon an easement requires review by the town for conformance with the general plan. So just want to provide a little bit of history on the subject site. The site is located adjacent to Highway 280. The town approved a subdivision in 1982, which was 1 lot into nine different lots. And at the time of the subdivision, the general plan and municipal code required properties within the I-280 scenic corridor to have a 200-foot building setback. And the ASRB could grant relief up to 100 feet if they could make findings that structures would not be visible from the scenic corridor. Ultimately, the ASRB was not able to make those findings, and so therefore the subdivider requested a variance. And so then the Planning Commission granted the variance, which approved a 100-foot building setback easement for lots 2, 3, 4, and 5. So on the map, it's a little hard to see. Sorry, I'm going to zoom in. The lots we're talking about are this lot here, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, this kind of irregular shaped lot. And the yellow highlight is the 100-foot building setback line. And so that's measured from the northern property lines. This darker line here is the property boundary, and then 100 feet is that yellow line. So then, oh, and also the setback prohibited buildings or structures of any kind except for lawful fences within that 100-foot setback area. And so this was recorded on the subdivision map. In 2017, the town council actually amended the municipal code to eliminate the 200-foot setback requirement for smaller parcels along I-280. The 200-foot requirement remained for larger parcels fronting 280, specifically along Moore Road, Valley Court, Lawler Ranch Road, and also at Kenyatta College. So they eliminated it for the smaller parcels, but those larger parcels on those specific roads still have that 200-foot setback. Also, the town updated its general plan to be consistent with that municipal code. So striking the requirement for a 200-foot setback for all of the properties within that scenic right-of-way. And so the current general plan and municipal code do not have specific requirements for setbacks from I-280, except for those larger properties that I mentioned. Again, on Moore, Valley Court, Lawler Ranch, and at Kenyatta College. However, the minimum setback requirements for the zoning district would still apply. So the applicant is requesting relief of that building setback easement in order to allow for more feasible building sites on the lots. With this easement, it would likely require, with the 100-foot easement, it would likely require any future development to need a setback exception or a variance to build. So that's why the applicant is requesting abandoning that 100-foot setback. Again, the minimum setback for the zoning district would still apply. And staff finds the proposed abandonment to be in conformance with the general plan as well as the municipal code. And if the planning commission agrees and approves the draft resolution, the town council will then need to review the abandonment at a future meeting. So that concludes my introduction, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I'll just add just a little extra clarification is that the planning commission is looking at is if this particular request is consistent with the general plan, or a better way to put it is to ensure that the general plan, that to remove this setback would not be in conflict with any of the general plan policies or requirements. And as Sarah was noting, there used to be a requirement to have this additional increased setback against the I-280 corridor, where that no longer exists. So therefore, that's why the staff recommended that the planning commission find this request in conformance with the general plan. And if that is done, the town council will be the one to actually take action to retain or abandon the easement.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff on this?
I do. You mentioned, Sarah, you mentioned in 2017 waiving the 200-foot setbacks for smaller parcels. And then you mentioned afterwards how the general plan was also updated to waive the 200-foot for setback for smaller parcels. Are these parcels considered smaller parcels, or the bigger parcels that did not, that's still that still had the 200-foot setbacks on them?
Well, so yes, the ones that Sarah mentioned were the ones they retained. The terminology of smaller was just kind of used to describe the lots. The best example of this, and I think what partly triggered that in 2017, is up at northern end of Kenyatta Road. So you have we're talking about Palm Circle area. And if you look at those parcels, I think the Kenyatta Road right away is like 50 feet, maybe it's 80 feet. But then once you get onto that, you're talking about another 100+ feet of setback that was going onto lots that were about 100 feet deep, or in some cases 150 feet deep. And it was realized that that wasn't going to really accomplish anything on these smaller lots. It's creating these issues. And so at that time, they made it very specific in the areas in which they would keep that increased setback, whereas everywhere else was removed, which included Mission Trail. This one just so happens that it actually had this easement recorded as part of the parcel map, and that's what they're trying to ameliorate today.
Richard, did you have questions?
Yeah, as a follow-up, so what is the criteria for being a small lot?
Yeah, again, it was, that was kind of the terminology being used, but they identified the specific areas that they wanted to retain those parcels and so it was specifically Moore Road, Valley Court, those all kind of in the southeastern part of town. Lawler Ranch Road was right across the highway from that. So those all had we're talking 5+ acres. And then Kenyatta College obviously being a very big lot, they kept that as well there.
And these are
These are
roughly about an
roughly about an
acre.
acre in size, yeah.
I had no questions beyond the same one my fellow commissioners already beat me to the punch on. And so given that, if there are no further questions for staff, we would provide an optional period for the applicant to speak. You don't have to speak, but if you want to say anything, you're welcome to.
I'll just maybe take a couple minutes here. So my name's Lisa Putnam, and I represent the property. You can see in the aqua line is the line that we're asking the no setback to be removed. There are other easements. There's a conservation easement. And so it makes it difficult. And since this isn't a topo map, you can't really see, but at the cul-de-sac, at like where lot 3 comes in, it's steep at first. So we'll actually be giving an easement. My house is lot 2. Thank you. And so we'll actually be giving an easement of lot 3 to go up my driveway and then onto lot 3. So with this easement in place, it makes it very difficult to build houses, especially on lot 3, 4, and 5. Lot 2 is actually already has a house. But lot 5, because of the other easements, it really gives you a very small little patch of land. So anyway, that's why we're asking this. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Okay.
Go ahead, Richard.
So lot 2, 3, 4, and 5 are under one ownership?
No, they're not. I own lot 2. And then lot 3, 4, and 5 are owned by 2 different LLCs.
And one thing, sorry, if I wanted to kind of add and maybe clarify as well as, so as Sarah mentioned, that the normal setbacks would still apply. And so it's good to note that, the front setback is 50 feet. So that already starts to push it back quite a bit. And that's where some of that constraint comes in with that 100-foot building setback, as well as the side setbacks would still be 20 feet when the smaller, say 1-story, 30 feet as 2-story, 25 in the rear, 30 feet in the rear for a 2-story. So all of those would still apply.
And on these lots, the 280 side is considered to be the rear.
It might be a little bit different on some of them. So I look at 3 and 4, that clearly would be the rear. And then with 5, it's possible that we'd look at that as the side setback, because we look at what's opposite. The rear is typically what's opposite of the front, and the front is what separates from the roadway.
More questions for the applicant?
I guess one more question. Is there any opposition to this? I mean, this seems to be a creature of the general plan and the municipal plan. initially, and I'm just wondering, is there any, outside of kind of being a creature of the general plan and the municipal plan and the town, I mean, is there any opposition to this?
Not that I've heard of. I know quite a few people on Lanning, so I kind of reached out to them. And it didn't seem like anybody had a problem with it.
Great, thank you.
We notified everyone within 300 feet from all of the parcels. I think you had one inquiry. It's asking about the project, asking for some information, but nothing further came out of that.
Follow up to Sage. So 300 feet, I'm just thinking about 300 feet looking at this property. It would just be the properties that we see in front of us is 300 feet. It's even less than to the end of those properties. So it wouldn't include any other properties outside this cul-de-sac.
It would in the sense that if you look at, say, lot 5, and then if you want to maybe hover over that, Sarah, those lots there that she's hovering the cursor over. So those are on Lanning. So those are clearly within 300 feet. And then also when you go kind of to the northwestern side, it says kind of parcel C at the top, with the land division. So the ones adjacent to parcel 2, up towards the top, those would be other property owners outside of the cul-de-sac that would be notified.
So I don't quite, so this is a 200-foot setback from the end of each of those properties?
So as noted earlier, it was supposed to be 200, and then before they finalized this, they had received a variance to make it 100.
Ah,
And so right now
that's
it's
where I thought I heard one. See, yeah, because if it was 200, those properties would have been over 400 feet depth.
Yeah.
So there would have been plenty of space to build anything you want within reason.
Yes, if they had that room, yeah. But if it was 200, it would, I mean, lot 5, I think, would just be completely encumbered by it.
Further questions for the applicant or staff? Given that, we would open the public comment period on this topic. Anyone in the room, in person, or online? Raise your hand and come up to the microphone, or if you raise your hand in the Zoom room, you can, Julie will unmute you.
We still do not have any attendees online.
Given the lack of any public comment on this, I will close the public comment period and we can move into commissioner deliberation, and we can start with Commissioner Tauber.
Sure. Sage, I don't have a question, but I just want you to kind of pressure test my logic. The way I'm reading this, it was a creature initially of the general plan and the municipal plan, which was later amended. Both were separately amended. The term smaller properties versus larger properties is a rather subjective term. I think what's important here is that the so-called larger properties were clearly identified by where they were located. And as I read what smaller property means, when I look at property 5 up here,
I'm sorry to interrupt. We are hearing from someone that we're all muted and the sound is not coming through online. So if we could just pause for a moment so we can get in touch with another staff member who's not on the premise to test it.
Sure.
So if you guys don't mind taking a quick break, and we'll get back to you.
We will take a 5-minute break.
Thank you.
have you seen how the town is decorated? I mean, this is like walked in here this morning and I was like, whoa, this is
Yeah.
awesome.
Looks really nice out there.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of that? Or committee?
Or, no, they've been doing it for a number of years, so I think that Public Works is always the one who installs all this stuff. And yeah, I mean, we have some good people at the front desk. Make sure things are done right.
Yeah. They've done an awesome job. I mean, it's probably a few occasions where I feel like being misled.
Melissa, if you can hear me, do you mind using the raise hand? Okay, you can hear us. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, can we?
I think we're safe to continue
Okay.
the meeting. I'm sorry to have cut you off. Yes, please.
So, I think the chair started with me and, I just asked Sage to kind of pressure test my logic. And, the way I see this is a creature of the general plan and the municipal plan, at 200 feet. Then it was amended to 100 feet. Then in 2017, we changed the 200-foot setback for smaller parcels. Then we updated the general plan. The way I look at this, the term smaller parcel and larger parcel is subjective. The term smaller parcel to me means, like, when I look at Lot 5, Lot 5 is heavily compromised. And how I understand smaller parcel subjectively, Lot 5 is a smaller parcel. But more importantly, what was qualified as or identified as larger parcels was really specifically identified by where they were located. And this is not one of those locations. In fact, the reason we're here is because the easement was recorded with 200 feet. If it hadn't been for that, I don't think we would be here.
That is 100% correct. Yes. So for example, those parcels I mentioned up by Palm Circle, they don't have this recorded on their properties. And so when the municipal code was changed, that just went away for those properties.
So, it's funny because when I think about variances, I think about who's affected. And your comment about, you haven't heard from anybody, you've reached people, the town has reached people, and there's no one here. And so my predisposition is to kind of support the town staff's recommendation. And I'm actually happy to make a motion to do that after everybody deliberates. I think this is a no-brainer.
Richard?
Yeah. So Sage, one more question for Sarah. I believe I touched upon this with Sarah a couple of days ago, but why would any planner approve these lot sizes under the circumstances of having a 200-foot setback rear? When these were created in 82?
Be difficult.
Oversight.
That question.
Oversight.
I think there was a significant concern back then of
We're going to build a doghouse?
to put things further away from the scenic corridors.
Well, they were already laid out with the exception granted to reduce the setback to 100 feet.
Right. They assumed that with the 100-foot, maybe back in what was more relatively similar in size to their homes in the 80s might be different than what's
Still built big ones then?
It's hard to kind of time travel and go to the past, because I think when this subdivision was created, I can't pretend to understand the trade-offs that the owner made and what he accepted or she accepted as far as easements and everything in order to get everything subdivided. So the way I look at it is we are where we are today, and we have the best information that we have.
So continuing, I went to the site and I looked upon 280 after going through quite a deep, thick layer of bushes and trees on at least several of these parcels. And there is no way that anyone driving on 280 is going to see anything on these properties. Plus, there's another road um, that's parallel with 280 right behind.
That's the, we actually went back out there today to look at it. So that's the Farm Hill Road entrance onto 280 southbound. That's right there. So I guess technically that's part of the 280 right of way. But yes, there's the large berm, and then behind the berm, there was the thicker vegetation.
I think that's, that argument really adds credence that this is a no-brainer, just like Alex said. So I would agree with the draft resolution.
I don't have anything to add beyond what my fellow commissioners have already stated. I could support the resolution and the recommendation to council that these easements be abandoned. This is not a criticism of you, Sarah. Of course, you don't know how something's going to look until you try it on an unsuspecting audience. If there's an opportunity to reword the staff report to sort of clear up the confusion about large and small lots, if there are council members that don't go that far back and remember all the history of this, if you have a chance to tweak some of the language in there so it's less confusing, you had no way to know that until you tried it out on us. And so that might be helpful and speed things at the council level. But other than that, I don't have anything further to add. And so if someone wanted to make a motion to approve our resolution of recommendation for the abandonment.
I'll do that, and I'm typically good about seconding, not making it, so this is my first, but, I mean, with regards to this resolution, which clearly spells out that being a resolution of the Planning Commission of the Town of Woodside determining general plan conformance of the proposal to abandon an existing 100-foot building setback easement and recommending that the Town Council approve the abandonment of the 100-foot building setback easement on the properties of Mission Trail located at APN 073-011-330, 073-011-340, 073-011-350, and 073-011-360. I make a recommendation that we approve this recommendation, this resolution.
Second,
Chair Weaver,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonerko,
approved.
Commissioner Tauber.
Yes.
Well, can this be appealed since it's going to town council?
A very good question. No, this would not be appealable. The Town Council will make the entire decision with this.
Okay, town council will be taking up this recommendation on our part. And if anyone wants to speak at that time, they're welcome to do so. And so that finishes this item. Sage, do you have anything else for us tonight?
I do not have any other reports. We don't have a new monthly director's report at this time. I'll note that last night we did complete the second Community Advisory Committee meeting for the Town Center Area Plan update. There was 4 main topics discussed in terms of public gathering spaces, transportation, mobility, parking, and land uses, including commercial and residential. Very good discussion. Went 4 hours, so there was some good input. There's good takeaways to move forward to the next steps. So the next steps will, the consultant team will start to consolidate some of the main priorities that were identified by the Citizen Advisory Committee, and we'll be touching base with the Town Council probably in the first quarter of next year. And the process will continue to move forward.
Is there likely to be an additional planning commission meeting later this month?
There is, we have one item, correct? Yes, we do have an item for
Okay.
the 19th?
17.
17th, thank you.
Absent any further questions for Sage?
You know, say just this kind of Kenyatta Corners is so controversial. And, you know, Measure A passed and then it all fell apart. And I think even when it's settled and recommendations are made and the town council approves them, I think that whenever someone wants to develop something there, it's gonna, again, be controversial. And I think it would be helpful, just as you plan on updating the town council, when there's enough that has happened to get an update at the planning commission, because I would love to keep the thread of what's going on, because we are gonna get variance requests, or we are gonna get something when it's almost like the dog that chases a car that finally catches the car. If we get our wish, something's gonna be done about that parcel. And it's gonna be controversial. And I just wanna make sure that we keep the thread of what's happening. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, and any update on, I don't have any significant update. I know there is a trial date set in December. I believe it's December 15th. I'm not 100% sure. And that's the next step for that project.
Thank you.
Absent any other further comments, we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.